One, I have a whole video called Harassed with Holograms where it shows a ton of people describing the same thing. So obviously, we're not crazy if we're all describing the same exact things. We're describing phone hacking, workplace harassment, voices, V2K, shadows on the wall. All this stuff is like now every targeted individual story might have some of those or like only one. Everybody's experience is a little bit different, but there's way too many similarities to ignore this.
Welcome to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby. Join me as I dive into powerful stories of resilience and strength. In each episode, I sit down with guests who have faced similar journeys of coercive control, financial manipulation, and personal invasion. Together, we uncover the shadows, share our experiences, and inspire others to reclaim their lives. Tune in, listen, and be a part of the community that stands tall against the forces that seek to control us. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unveiling Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby. Today, I'm honored to welcome a courageous guest, Stephen. We're going to dive into a powerful conversation with someone who's lived through the kind of targeting most people can't even imagine. Stephen is known for his online YouTube channel, Not Bad for a Target. Between 21 and 2022, Stephen endured intense V2K, disturbing holographic shows, and shadowy imagery, hacked devices, and even unjust workplace relations, all the while battling addiction. But after getting clean in August of 2022, something shifted. The targeting seemed to stop. Was it a coincidence, a break in the programming perhaps, or part of something bigger? Today, Stephen is here to share his story, his recovery, and the hard questions he's still asking. Let's pull back the curtain and hear what he has to say. Welcome, Stephen, to Unveiling Shadows.
Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. So I'm Steven. I'm 38. I live in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Like you said, I have a YouTube channel, Not Bad for a Target, where I uploaded my entire testimony. If anybody wants to check that out, I go into great detail about everything that happened. Um, I haven't uploaded any videos recently, and that's because after I got clean in 2022, it seems to have stopped. There has been little things here and there, which we can get into if you want, but yeah, I realized that I'm luckier than most people who seem to have this happen to them for years at a time. So, should I just tell like what happened when it started, or?
Yeah, like tell us how you knew that it was, I'm going to say, a behavioral modification program, because I experimented a little bit with drugs, and I don't think that that's the reason that they were targeting me. But I have heard other people that I've spoken with relate it to a behavioral modification type of program.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'll get into that. Sure. So I was living with a girlfriend at the time in her apartment, and things didn't work out. We're both clean when we started dating, and then we both relapsed. It didn't work out. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I went into rehab. And it's important to note possibly that I was working for Wayfair at the time, an online like furniture company, um,
yeah,
which has had some um, shady things associated with it as it is. I don't know if you've heard of that, like the possible links to human trafficking, stuff like that. I didn't know that at the time, but anyway, I was working for Wayfair, and it was during the COVID pandemic, the lockdowns. It was 2021. So I was working from home on a computer. So now I didn't have a place to live. How am I going to keep my job? So I called Wayfair. They said that they'll keep my job for me. So I went to rehab, and while I was there, you can only stay there for like 14 days, and I wasn't sure where I was going to live after that. I find it very odd that Wayfair actually did all the legwork and found me an apartment to move into, which is I've never heard of a job doing that for someone. They gave me a contact name, this guy named Richard, the landlord there. And while I was in like the very short time I was in rehab, they set me up with this apartment, everything included, furnished and everything. So at the time, I thought that, wow, that's great. I'm so lucky. I moved in there. And man, so as soon as I got out of rehab, I started to use again. I didn't really want to be clean. I just wanted a place to live and just use in peace. That's really all I wanted. And I guess how it started was like my work computer at Wayfair. I'm pretty tech savvy, good with phones and computers, and all of a sudden my computer was acting very strangely. Basic functions weren't working, icons were disappearing. Um, Now for a work from home job where the whole thing is on the computer, that kind of stuff is very important. I would open like Internet Explorer was gone and I had to use another browser which didn't have any of my links. It was just very like it was like impacting my work to the point where I was on the phone with tech support all the time trying to figure out what was going on. Um
There's a camera on every computer, and people don't realize that this stuff can watch you. And so when you were doing that, they were watching you. If the camera wasn't covered, we have no privacy these days. So
Yeah. And I remember, like, in retrospect, I remember meeting the landlord and he said some weird things. He's like, that shed over there, like, don't ever go in there. I'm like, okay, all right, man. And he's like, and you may as well tell me the truth about what's going on here because trust me, I know everything that goes on here. I was like, oh, okay, Richard, all right. So just to go back a little bit, that rubbed me the wrong way, but I was just like, whatever. I'm grateful to have an apartment. So yeah, but the stuff started going wrong with my computer, and then my phones would become like things were happening on my phone. Screens were changing. Like I had control over my phone with my fingers, but somebody else was controlling it just as much. I remember trying to like get into the settings menu and I'd have to use two hands to just get into the menu because if I wasn't quick enough, whoever was messing with my phone remotely, it was so frustrating. I wasted so much time just trying to like
just
because
do a
the thing
simple
is
tap.
I
Yeah.
didn't know about targeting. I didn't know. I've never heard of targeted individuals or gang stalking. I've never been into like conspiracy theories before this. I've never. Now I am because now that I know that I would have
They're
felt it.
true.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I just all I could think was that I was like, I'm really hacked. I'm really hacked. And I'm continuing to use and drink, particularly like meth or Adderall and drinking. I was a complete mess back then. Um,
Mhm.
but somewhere along the line, like in addition to the hacking and stuff, I started hearing somebody talk to me. Um, and to this day, I don't know if Richard was my main perpetrator or not, but it sure seemed like it.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, that Richard is talking to me. Um, and things like I had a couple different phones, all of them logged into my Facebook. One of them went missing. Then I saw on my other phone that somebody else was logged into my Facebook, stuff like that. Lots of hacking. But this voice thing was like, I had no idea how something like that could happen. I remember I would spend days just ripping my apartment apart looking for some
Yeah.
kind of speaker or camera or any kind of tech really. Like, where is this coming from? It makes no sense. And it
It
continued
was a
that way.
nightmare. You're back.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes it would sound like it was right in my head. Sometimes it sounded like it was bouncing off the walls. Sometimes it sounded like it was through the wall. I remember there'd be nights where like I'd be trying to sleep and it sounded like it was like a window above my bed. It sounded like the voices were coming like from the roof, which it was baffling. So
Were you on the top floor or?
yes. Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah. So so things like that happen. So then like more stuff happened to let me know that this was not like in my mind. I never really thought I was going crazy. Like I've never heard voices before. I wouldn't think that I would start hearing them at this point. And I had used all these drugs for years and years before this. So I know that meth didn't cause me to hear voices. This was something else. This was like my computer being hacked, my phones being controlled remotely, things being missing, going missing from my apartment, things being added to my apartment. I remember I had like every time I came home, there'd be more like mail like stacked in the middle of my table, like with just some weird details. I remember like I'm a guitar player. I love playing guitar, and I remember there was like these guitar strings that were for like a 7 string guitar, which I've never owned. I've never bought any strings like that. So I'm like just picking up this pack of guitar strings. I'm like, I didn't buy this. This couldn't have come in the mail. I'm not part of any like guitar mail order thing.
Yeah.
it's just stuff like that to let me know that something's going on, that I'm being surveilled, that and then like things would it got wild in there, man. Things were my TV like was being controlled too. So most of this time I would like by myself just trying to like use and peek and not succeeding. I remember so these voices, this guy would be like berating me, insulting me, mocking me, and then in addition to that, my phone's being hacked. Now my TV changes and this song starts playing about I remember it to this day. It was like a rap song about
Yeah.
and it was like about it had lyrics say like Julia, Julia, I want to Julia, and that was a girl who I had over like 4 or 5 days ago, and then like saying lyrics like, and I had my son over my apartment too at other times. So these lyrics were about like Julia, like about my personal relationships, and then it went on to say like, I hope your son dies. Um, so I'm just like staring at this TV, like who is playing this video to me right now?
Yeah.
I thought, it just another detail from that apartment, like they would say nasty stuff to me, like, oh, I remember telling him, like, I'm gonna tell everybody what you're doing, Richard. Like this, he's like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna do anything. Nobody's gonna believe you because you're just a junkie, and I'm a landlord with property in the community. And if you tell anybody, and this is all through V2K. At this point, we hadn't had a
Right.
proper phone call in a while now because I was angry with him for all of this. He said, if you try to tell anybody what's been happening, I'll show them. I'll tell everybody what you've been watching. And then like my TV changes to this Netflix show called Brats. It had like it looked like a show about like young teenage girls or something. So like
Mhm.
the implication there being like he's trying to say that like he was blackmail threatening to blackmail me about that I watch like inappropriate content and that's what I'm into, which couldn't be further from
Yeah.
the truth. And I remember even
Yeah.
like I'd turn the TV off and then turn it back on and somehow it went directly to that show called Brats. Which made my stomach drop. Like what? So now I'm like terrified in this place. Like I'm hearing voices all the time. All of my electronics are being messed with. Whatever phone I get, it's the same thing. It's not like I would think, okay, my phones are hacked. I just need a new phone, and that'll solve it. And it just didn't. Um, yeah. So
It's not the first time that I've heard of that because Shantice is another um, survivor that I podcast. And she sent me videos after I podcast where they would turn up the volume on the TV and the TV wasn't on. Like they were messing with her and her daughters.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a thing. And I've found basically every detail in my story. I've found other targets online say almost exactly, if not very similar things, even down to like the holograms that I was shown. Yeah, and in this apartment, man, and I never made this clear in my videos, but like still would experience all of this, even on like I wasn't doing meth the entire time. I'd run out, and this was over a period of many months. I remember running out and just trying to like crash, just trying to sleep, and so I'm not in like an excited meth state. I'm like in a like trying to sleep, like just my body needs to recover. And one night, like he just wouldn't let me, just kept talking, kept berating me, like, oh, you're a junkie. Look at him, look at the junkie. And then there was like 2 people that night. I've had experiences where there's like multiple people talking to me at the same time. um there was like an element of like and none of this was probably true. It was probably just like part of their script or whatever, but he was trying to
Yeah, because they want to make you feel bad about yourself, like take down your self-esteem. And these people are the criminals, and they're the pieces of shit.
yep. um and man, there was so like the visual stuff is like haunts me to this day, man. It's like I have no idea how they do this. Technology is so advanced. I remember like, so I'd be upstairs and I'd hear doors opening and closing, like, and so it was like a loft apartment with one staircase in it. So I'd rush downstairs and look, and there was nobody was in there. Then I'd hear like shuffling upstairs. I'd run back up. There was no one there. And every time I'd look and nothing was there, whether I was looking for a camera or a microphone, every time I'd look and nothing was there, I'd hear ha ha, just mocking me that I was confused and couldn't figure it out. But I remember one time, like so months of this, and I'm like, how are you getting in and out of this place so quickly? Do you have like trap doors in here set? Like I had no idea. I was grasping at straws. Um, and then I kind of got like I don't know if I heard it or like sometimes like this was like mind control shit. Like sometimes like you don't hear it directly. You hear like you get like a notion. Yes. I was like, well, how are you doing it? Like where is it? Where's the trap door? And like one section of the upstairs wall, there's like a spotlight shown on it. Like it looked like someone was shining like a flashlight on it. Um,
Uh-huh.
and then it moved from that to another section of the wall, and then to the closet, like as if to say like every part of my apartment was like he could get to me from any and all angles, basically. Um, so there was that. There was I remember like my phones were so hacked and I was losing it. I would like literally rip apart my phones at certain because I couldn't take it anymore. I had like a hammer, like the claw end of a hammer, twisted it apart. Like, oh, stop! Like trying to get it, which is so like futile,
Most
right?
of most of us targeted individuals have like anywhere from 5 to 7 phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and because we kept purchasing new ones, that's how they drain you of your money because you freak out initially
And I just that's a good
or get frustrated.
little segue here is like I'm trying to figure out a way to talk to people about this now. I'm in a unique position where so that rehab I went to earlier, I now work there as a recovery specialist. And man, I can't tell you how many intakes I see that come through the fax machine, and I read them because especially from the psych wards. And people, man, the things that are described in there, I'm like, I know that's a targeted individual. They're saying stuff like I read an intake the other day that said, yeah, my neighbor is bothering me and my son through the wall. They're trying to poison me with Narcan through the vents, which logically makes no sense. Like if any normie reads that, they're just going to think, wow, that person's crazy. But when I read that, I'm like, wow, that person's being targeted. And I remember thinking things just as irrational back then. I used to think that
Yeah.
a smoke detector was somehow rigged up. And, yeah. And I've seen other intakes saying like, the radiator in his apartment is attacking him and sending him messages. And not only the intakes that I see on the fax machine, the people that come in. There's been a couple times like we have to search people's property when they get there, and I remember this one kid had 5 cell phones on him, and I'm like, wow. I was kind of trying to start because I can't really talk about this at my job, but
So that's a question that I have really quick for you. Because a lot of psychiatrists don't know about this program. And so they're ill equipped to help these people
Mhm.
understand that they're being victimized, that they are actually a victim.
I know it's really sad. It's incredibly frustrating. Because unfortunately now there's no way to prove this and like show people.
Send them to Substack.
Yeah, yeah. I do. And this kid I tried to stay in touch with because I asked him. I was like, "Oh, 5 phones, huh?" He's like, "Dude," he's like, "Every time I get a new one, they're in it right away." He's like, "You wouldn't even believe me if I told you." And I'm like, "Actually, I would. Like, try me." And we started talking about it a little bit, but we ended up falling out of contact. So anyway, and then there was this other kid who,
Send them this podcast.
yeah, yeah, I will if I can get in touch with him. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, back to what I was going. Like, there was an element of like, so this one night I was trying to sleep, and he just wouldn't let me. And so I would see the lights flashing. That happened once. Another time, about the smoke detector. Like I heard a voice saying, I can't believe you still haven't figured this out, Steve. Um, and I was like, and I bluffed one time. I was like, I had figured it out. It's coming through that smoke detector. And and he's like, well, why don't you do something about it? I was like, I don't know how you got it set up. I don't want to get electrocuted. And then on the wall, I see like a life size like shadow of of a man,
Yep,
like making
I've seen
obscene gestures up and down like that, like to say he's got like a, whatever. It's obvious that it's set up and like, he's just making vulgar gestures like that. So it's just, so there was, and then, oh yeah. And also like when I would rip apart my phones, like there's like a lot of shiny metallic parts of a phone inside. And I remember like just like looking at them and I'd see all these like faces in them, like swirling, kind of
Yep.
holographic, um, just like long faces with like covers over their eyes. And I'm just like looking at this, like, what is this? Like, what is going on here? So, it was, and I'd spend like all day trying to just like figure this out. And I wish I was I wish I like looked into it more like back then about like hearing voices, but I didn't look into it. So I had no idea what was going on. And then there was like at towards the end of this apartment, like I lost my job because of just attendance. I had a work from home job and I got fired for attendance, just because I couldn't. I was my own worst enemy with the drugs and drinking and also this targeting. Like I couldn't get it together just to get to my computer and be presentable for
Yeah.
work. And I remember one night, I heard Richard or whoever was operating the V2K say, "I'm the one that called Wayfair and told them to fire your ass." So I don't know if that's true or not. Um, but and then there was like all this like guilting and like shaming about being a drug addict. Like it's like, oh, what are you gonna like? And about me moving out. Like after I lost my job, they're like you're gonna get out. And I paid rent like at that point like 3 months in advance. He's like, and you're not gonna get your money back. You're just gonna get the fuck out of here. So that's the kind of stuff I was hearing all the time. And then towards the end, there was like two guys talking to me, and the main voice said like, "Oh, we got this local guy, Julio. He's in. He's like, and they were like setting up plans for me, almost as if they were trying to recruit me. Which, like, again, I don't think that was really like a possibility, but that was the script that they were doing.
Yep.
And they would say things like tomorrow tomorrow I'll meet you, but you can't drink until like there was like elements of that, like, but don't take any Xanax, you can't drink until 5 p.m. um like about controlling my behavior like that, and it was just weird. It was almost like part of me almost thought like, are they trying to help me? Are they trying, is he, you know what I mean? It was very bizarre. um
They were
so
using you as an experiment, is what they were doing.
yeah, yeah. So I remember like waiting, like trying my best to wait, but then like nobody ever showed up. So I'm just like, what? And then like there was more, he kept trying to string me along to like basically listen to their instructions. And one day I was like, I couldn't do it. Um, I remember like flushing. I had this big bag of Xanax that I had. I flushed it down the toilet and I just fled that apartment. So um yeah, I just left. I checked myself into rehab, um, where I had I went into rehab, left the apartment, had my friends pack up the apartment. And like mind you, I had like 3 months paid up, and it was just so unbearable that I couldn't be there anymore. Um, so so the part of me, and then what happened next is like why I think it for me it's like a behavior modification thing, because as soon as I went into rehab, all the voices stopped, no visual imagery, no, my phones were working fine. And I like went to a halfway house and made it about 6 months, and the entire time, um, almost nothing happened. There was this one girl who like got involved with me, who
A
looked.
handler?
I think so. I think she was a little. a little gang stocky. I remember like a message she sent me at the time, like, "Oh, hi, my star seed." And at that point, like I had never heard that term before, so I just thought she was just being weird. But later, I learned that that's like one of the terms that people use for targeted individuals. Whatever, but like basically, she might have been like some kind of handler or honeypot, whatever. But um, she was like kind of very bizarre anyway, so I kind of kept my distance just automatically based on that. But anyway, I got 6 months clean, nothing really happened besides her. And then I moved into another apartment with the intention of like I wanted to relapse, I wanted to use, and I moved into this like rooming house where I had a room, and it was like a shared bathroom and shared kitchen and it was kind of a sketchy place here in
Mhm.
Pittsfield, but like it was cheap. I found it on Craigslist, and yeah, and I don't know, like I started by like drinking after work. I just had this job at Cumberland Farms, like a gas station around here. I worked there. Um and I started and like drinking basically as soon as I got there. At first it was just like, I wanted to go out to the bars, I wanted to hang out with women, and that's what I did at first. But then like then I slowly started like using like Adderall at work, and I went back on how I used to, I'll say how I allegedly used to get my drugs was through the internet, through the dark web, and
Yeah.
so I went back on there and I started ordering Xanax, um, meth, and it's hard to say when. I don't know why it's so difficult for me to remember exactly when it started back up, but it just did. I think I remember it was my phones again. My phones were being controlled by somebody other than me. Um and yeah, I remember like at a certain point, like I was just laying in my bed and hearing voices again. Um this time it was it was a little different. I had so yeah, I guess I'll just like, and it's almost over, like the story. Like some really crazy things happened though in this apartment. Um so let's see. All right. So I remember hearing voices again, and then okay, so then the workplace harassment. Now I had started using again, but I was like not like crazy, and I was still showing up to work, still doing what I had to do. Um,
Function.
yeah,
Yeah.
functioning. I'm sure some people could tell like the difference, because when I started there, I was sober, and now at this point, I was starting to use again. I'm sure somebody maybe thought something, but I didn't do anything bad. One day, my boss calls me, and and she says, it was my day off. She's like, "Hey, Steve, can you come in?" I'm like, "What? Do you need me to work today?" She's like, "No, I just need to talk." So I was like, "All right." I didn't have a car at that point, so I took the bus down to my job, and she just said, she was like, "Hey, can you punch in real quick?" So I was like, "Okay." So I did, and then she took me to the side. She was like, "Yeah, so um, your safe was short $200 last night," and I was like, "No, that's not possible." She's like, "Yeah, well, we've been checking the cameras," and I said, "And?" Like, and so I tried to like I didn't take it on, on my life. I didn't take a cent from that place
Yeah.
ever. And I tried to defend myself like, no, that's not possible. I was not
To
sure.
see
And
the footage.
yeah. And I just like after trying to defend myself for a couple minutes, I realized it wasn't working. So I was just like, she's like, "Yeah, here's your last paycheck." She gave me this like debit card. There's your last paycheck. She's like, "Anything over $100, yeah, we gotta let you go." So that sucked. It really sucks to be falsely accused of something. I lost my job. So yeah, that's kind of what started me going back. When that happened, I got really depressed. I felt real sorry for myself. Started drinking around the clock. Then I realized I needed some income. So that's when I went back to the allegedly to the dark web and started ordering things so I could sell them.
Yeah.
Um and of course use them. So I'm trying to remember exactly what happened next. I'll just tell this one crazy story that I remember. It was like um so this day I was like entirely mind controlled. Nothing about this day made sense. It was like this big elaborate situation. I was like walking around town in Pittsfield. I remember being at the local store, Family Dollar, and like all of a sudden I get in my head, and mind you, I've been using meth and I was supposed to be sober. I have an ex-wife and a son with her. So like this idea that I had made no sense. I got it in my head that I need to go over to my ex-wife's house and explain everything that's been happening to her because she might be compromised too. She might be hacked too. So that is like the worst idea, especially in the state I was in. Like I shouldn't have wanted to go over to my ex-wife's house, but it seemed like the only thing to do right then. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna walk over to my ex-wife's house and explain everything to her. Mind you, I had no idea what was going on. So what was I gonna explain to her? And I thought, why did I think she was hacked too? That makes no sense. Um,
Yeah.
so I decide I'm gonna walk. It was a 30-minute walk. I decide I'm gonna walk over there, and no sooner than I had that thought, this car just pulls right up to me. Had like three or four people in it, and they people I've never seen before. They said, "Hey, do you need a ride, buddy?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, yeah, I do." So which has never happened to me around here in my life. Nobody has ever just come up to me and offered me a ride somewhere. But this day it happened, and I naively just took it. So I get in the car. They drop me off. Um, this, this is such a weird story, but it happened just like this. So I go into my ex-wife's house. I let myself in. I'm just doing the same in there. I'm just like looking behind curtains, picking up things, looking for like looking for speakers or cameras. For some reason, I think that that's what I need to be doing right then. Um, while I'm doing that, I'm like, I remember like rifling through her curtains like this, and all of a sudden like behind me this light starts flashing, like, and I look back and there's an actual like pocket-sized light in the middle of her floor that's like doing a strobe effect. I don't know if those people that dropped me off like threw it in the window. I'm not sure, but that wasn't just like a targeting visual effect. That was actually like I picked the thing up, I pressed a button on it, and it stopped flashing. I put it in my pocket, terrified, like who's messing with me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then, um, oh my gosh, I remember this is like the most embarrassing scene in my entire life. I remember like thinking that my clothes were like bugged too, so I took my pants off. I'm in my underwear going through my ex-wife's house, which I shouldn't be there to begin with. And
Yeah.
one by one, like her family, like her family lives close by there. So one of them like heard somebody in there, must have. So they knocked on the door and I answered, and like they're like, "Steve, what are you doing here, man?" Um, so so let's see. So then like one by one her entire family comes in there, and I'm trying to explain to them what I'm doing. I'm like, "No, but look, she's hacked too. She's hacked." Like out of my mind. I really suspect entirely mind controlled at this point because
Yeah.
even using drugs and like I I have no idea where that thought came from to go to her house and try to explain this to her. It makes no sense. But her whole family came and it was so bad. I remember I had like a lunchbox. I bought this lunchbox and put my drugs in it because I thought somehow that my drugs were like hacked with technology too. I don't know. A lot of irrational thoughts. And I remember like grabbing my lunchbox and it wasn't secured, so like pills were falling out of it. And her whole family, there's like six of her family there just looking at me like, what is he doing? They're like, and one of the grandpas like, get out of here, Steve. You need some help. You need some help. Like, go get clean, that kind of thing. And so I kind of just bowed my head down, walked out of there. Okay, so now I go back to my apartment and I'm looking around my apartment with this not the light that I picked up, but just my own flashlight. I'm like investigating. That's all I could think to do during all this was look around my apartment to look for some kind of technology that was being used to control me. I never found anything. Well, I'm looking in my apartment with this flashlight all around, and all of a sudden, like I look down at the flashlight and I see a video start to play on it. I will never forget it to this day. Like it was like a FaceTime video, but it was all hologram colors, almost had like a gaseous like mirage kind of quality to it where it was kind of flowing,
Yep.
super bright, and it was Richard's face. Now mind you, Richard's not my landlord at this new apartment. Um I hadn't talked to the guy in about a year at this point, but in my head this whole time I'm thinking like he's behind it because he was behind it in the first apartment, and now and then I had the 6 month break when I got clean. Now I'm in a new apartment. All this stuff starts happening again. I'm hearing voices. My phones are hacked again. Now I'm looking at this flashlight and I see Richard's face, and he just waves at me like, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, I knew it, Richard. I knew it was you. And then, like, I didn't hear him talk. It wasn't like a video where I could hear audio come from the video, but he would just like nod and stuff in agreement to what I was. I'm like, I knew it was you. He's like, kind of laughing, like. Um, and then he goes like this. He goes like that. He makes a gesture with his hand, and then the video imagery changes to like a 2 or 3 second clip of me in my ex-wife's house earlier that day, rifling through her curtains, like from the back, as if somebody recorded me. So and I was just like, I just turned the flashlight off and was horrified. Um,
Yeah.
so like all the things that implicates, right? Like somebody was messing with me. Somebody threw that little pocket-sized light in my ex-wife's house. I was under surveillance, like I thought. A video clip was shown to me later that day of me in my ex-wife's house. So it just blows my mind. It still does. All these things that happen, like even though now I haven't been targeted for 2 years, 8 months, like I'm still like every like I'm still hungry to learn more about this. Like what happened, what's happening, how do we stop this? How do we expose this? That's how I
Yeah,
found.
that's a very good question because it needs to be stopped.
Yeah.
So I should just put the preface of my book for free on the internet, or read it and do a podcast about it on a solo cast, because it specifically states what you saw is they were using that technology on me, and they they couldn't get me into an insane asylum. They were able to hold me for 24 hours because I knew what the fuck was going on. I'm like, this is not normal, and this technology is being used for nefarious purposes.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember. Like I did end up in the psych ward once. After Richard's apartment, after going into like the hospital or going to trying to go to detox. But when I started talking about, oh, my landlord's harassing me, he's doing all this, they sent me to the psych ward. And I remember every day in that in the beginning of the day, like there'd be like a panel of doctors around me. And the first couple days I would try to explain like what was going on. I never said I heard voices, but I was like saying like he was bothering me, like all my phones were hacked. I was hearing all these noises, and I could tell with their reactions. They were just like, "Oh, that sounds like a paranoid delusional disorder." And so as the days went on, and as I like kind of I give myself credit for that. I kind of just stopped talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm feeling much better now. Like, they gave me this medication called like risperidone while I was there, and it made me feel like horrible. And after like 5 days in that place, I was like, I'm not taking that anymore. I stopped talking about my landlord. I kind of knew the game because the whole game is set up to like, if you talk about this,
Absolutely.
you're going to be labeled crazy. You're going to be discredited. So yeah.
That's why they could only take me for 24 hours. They could only keep me for because I didn't say anything. I knew exactly what was going on, and it was like a Hunger Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, my summarized version of my story is almost over. So, like that hologram thing happened, man. That's just so wild to think that somebody can like show you a video in your field of vision without an actual electronic device, and you have no say over it. So, and I'm not the only one. I have a whole video called "Harassed with Holograms" where it shows a ton of people describing the same thing. So obviously, we're not crazy if we're all describing the same exact things. We're describing phone hacking, workplace harassment, voices, V2K, what like holograms, shadows on the wall. All this stuff is like now every targeted individual story might have some of those, or like only one, or everybody's everybody's experience is a little bit different, but there's way too many similarities to ignore this, and it's just I was telling you before we joined, I'm like really rooting for your podcast. I think you do a great job. Like you've made it really professional looking, and you've clearly put the time in to do it right. And yeah, even though I haven't gone through this in 2 years, 8 months, like basically every day, every other day, I search on like Rumble, BitChute, YouTube. I'll search for targeted individuals. We'll go by upload date. So that's how I found your channel. Just you popped up, I don't know what, like 6 months
Yeah.
ago, something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. We have to all do our part. It's a shame about Dr. Robert Duncan, because I think they offed him.
Yeah, me too. Very
Yeah.
weird how it happened. Like, he made that post on I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram saying that like he was working on his book. He was being silenced for now, and very bizarre, and then all of a sudden he's dead in his apartment. He definitely got hit with something.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess there's just like one more crazy thing that happened. So after the hologram thing, like I was so scared with that whole event and confused. Like honestly, it was terrifying. I rented a hotel room, even though I had like my own apartment, which should have been a safe place to stay. Like here I was again being like bullied out of it. I went to a hotel and like the whole night was so much mind control. This whole night I was getting this like V2K. I remember like I remember like trying to like be obedient to the V2K that night because I was so scared. I was like, I promise I'll listen to you, but like my phone's about to die. Like I need to buy a charger. I'll be right back. Like reasoning with this V2K. And then I get back to my room and I'm like, what's the Wi-Fi password? I know you have it. So I just said that out loud, and then my phone screen turns on and it says like in the Google Assistant voice, like Wi-Fi passwords are typically found by calling the front desk. So here at my phone, like, and I didn't press like OK Google or anything. My phone wasn't set up. So here my phone is interacting with me and my V2K. Man, that night it sounded like the V2K I got actually sounded like it was like AI. It didn't sound like a real person. It was like a female, like robotic voice, kind of like almost like not robotic, but it almost sounded like the female Google Assistant voice. All night I was getting that. Um, and the next day I go back to my apartment. And yeah, I'll just tell this last story quickly. Um, this time like I was being so mind controlled this all happened within a few days. I remember like wanting to get some food. I had some food in the fridge, these chicken parm dinners that I had bought that I had bought at the grocery store 100 times before. This time I got it and like the whole top had this like blue stuff like inside like on top of the food itself, like it looked like mold or something. And I was like I thought that I was like, are they poisoning me? Are they like modifying my food? So I threw that away. I went in the in my room, and and um all of a sudden, like, I'm in such like a fight or flight kind of mode, confused, and I like terrified. And I think that that's something they definitely put on you, like with this technology, like this intense fear. I think I think that there's like I've seen videos about that, that there's like certain like hurts that they can send you, that just to like entrain your brain to be fearful. And I think that was what was going on. And all of a sudden I heard a knock on the door, and then like my handle jiggling, then like pounding on the door from the outside. And I went up to the door. I'm like, who is it? Nobody answered. They kept pounding. Um, I like crouched down against the door with my back against the door, and I'm like, who's there? Nobody answered. I said, like, what did you put in my food? And this part is so strange. This is like more visual effects from targeting. Um, it's as if like, so I'm sitting against a closed door, and it's as if somebody like out of my peripheral vision, almost it looked like somebody slid a little fortune cookie fortune under my door. Like I saw a hand like do that with a fortune cookie fortune, to the point where I like went to pick it up, and I did somehow. I don't know if I was just in reality, if I was just picking up nothing. That's because I don't think nobody was actually sliding me fortune cookie fortune. But I pick it up and I read it, and it says THC. And I remember like saying something stupid. I was like, "Oh, with all the drugs I've done, that might actually be a good thing." And I kind of laughed it off. I see another one, and I pick it up, and it says, "Thanks for understanding." Um, so now the pounding stops, and there was almost like a quiet there for a few seconds, and then all of a sudden, my armoire, like 5 feet to the right, starts. The doors on it that open like this. The doors start like protruding outward. It looks like somebody's trying to break through my room into my armoire, which makes no sense. There's no way somebody could be in the armoire, but like it looked so real that I jumped up and like started pounding the corners into the armoire. I'd pound the front one in, and then the corner of the bottom would protrude out. So I'm in this like full like probably like virtual battle with nobody. Um, I kick that close, and like, but I to dude, this was like it was happening. Like in my mind, this was happening, and I've never had any episodes like this. I've done, again, I had 2 years, 8 months sober now, but before that, I had been using heavy drugs for years and years and years. I've never had any episodes like this. Never. This was like this was like a Black Mirror episode. There's actually one particular one called like Playtest, which really reminds me of this whole thing because it was like fully immersive. I get up, I see the doors, like I'm closing each one, then like the bottom one comes out, I kick that shut. Now I'm shaking this big armoire back and forth in my room, and and I'm like, "Oh, you like that? You like that, bitch?" um, and then I just get terrified because I don't know if somebody's gonna come through with a gun or whatever. So like I just start. It's a nice summer day. I just start yelling like, "Help! Help!" out the window. This woman finally hears me. They call the cops. Then the cops come with this social worker, and they basically made me go into detox. I didn't want to go, but I did, and that was 2 years, 8 months ago. That was like the last thing that happened, and that's about it. That's the summarized version.
Right? Okay, so what advice do you have for other TIs that have experienced it?
Okay, one piece of advice is just never like believe them what they're saying to you in your V2K. They might tell the truth once in a while just to like throw you off, but it's almost all lies. Don't let them control your behavior. I can't tell you how much time I wasted like listening to the instructions and being obedient to the V2K thinking that it was gonna like bring some kind of resolution, or that they'd stop, or that I would get some answers to what was going on. It never
Yeah.
leads anywhere. They're just wasting your time. They're just experimenting on you. They're not trying to help you ever. So like my advice would be to like just focus on improving your life, do what you like doing. Um, I know that's easy for me to say because I'm not dealing with V2K anymore. Like, I really feel bad for people who deal with V2K on a constant basis, who have to like go to work and all that. My hat's off to those people. That must be incredibly difficult to try to keep some semblance of a normal life. But
Yeah.
that's my main advice, is just to not let them control you. Don't be obedient to them. Do what you're gonna do. And other advice is like be careful who you tell this kind of stuff to. Um, it really helped me to make videos of my testimony, and I really worked hard on that. I wrote down everything I could remember, um, and I like put it together in like the best I could, like in a chronological fashion, so it
Yeah.
didn't sound like a bunch of like jumbled. It just sounded. I made my best to make it like a coherent story. I made those videos, and it did help me to send that to my mom, to my dad, to my brother. Some people receive it better than others, right? My
Yeah.
parents my parents received it well. Um, but they're Christian. I grew up in a Christian house, so they tend to think it was like a demonic attack. But that's better than nothing. I'll take that.
Right.
Um,
Well, it is a demonic attack. It's a demonic attack by AI and technology.
I agree. Yep. At the very highest, this is obviously demonic stuff. Um, yeah, what else? Advice like don't keep police and doctors out of this. They're not going to help you. That's not where you're going to get your help. Don't try calling the cops about this. Don't
Yep.
don't tell your doctor about this. Not only is it not going to help you, it's going to hurt you. It's going to put a label on you that you're paranoid, delusional, or schizophrenic, which, I know that you're not, you know that you're not, but that's what people are going to think. So that's my advice there.
I love that advice. That is beautiful. Do not listen to your V2K. Record your stories to get them out so that they are in the public,
Yeah.
and don't report it to the cops
Yep.
or your doctors. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You are awesome. And I appreciate you. I want you to stay strong because we got this.
Will do.
Thank you for listening to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I hope today's episode has shed light on the experiences that too often remain hidden. If you or someone you know has a story to share, please reach out to me. Remember, you're not alone and your voice matters. Follow me on social media and subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories. Until next time, stay strong and keep unveiling the shadows.